This is your weekly roundup on the EAC News Channel. Your look back at the past week in the Kingdom of Wonder. A very good evening to you. I'm Paolo Benini, and we start with Monday. The Standing Committee of the National Assembly has conducted a meeting on Monday morning, approving a set of agendas for the 6th session of the National Assembly. The session will be convened on Thursday, which will include the election of the first Vice President. The seat of the National Assembly's first Vice President was vacated after the sudden death of Nguyen Nhial 2 weeks ago. EAC News reporter Dashani Gochan has the details.
The National Assembly will be making important decisions on Thursday. In a meeting chaired by the President of the National Assembly, Heng Samrin, on Monday, the Standing Committee approved 6 agendas for the 6th session of the National Assembly. One is to elect the new first Vice President, taking the place of parliamentary member Nguyen Nhial, who passed away due to illness. The National Assembly has chosen to elect Chiem Yeap as the next first Vice President. Article 87 of the Constitution of the Kingdom of Cambodia states that the Vice President of the National Assembly will be responsible for managing the work of the President in any case of his absence. The National Assembly will also assess the mandate of Un Bunham as a Member of Parliament for Kampong Thom constituency. Another agenda is the election of Chiang Vun as a member of the National Assembly Committee on Economy, Finance, Banking and Auditing, and Chiep Sivon as a member of the National Assembly Committee on Foreign Affairs, International Cooperation, Propaganda and Information. The final 3 agendas concern the discussion and approval of the draft law on the ASEAN Protocol on strengthening dispute resolution mechanisms, the discussion and approval of the 2022 draft law on finance for management, and the discussion and approval of the 2020 draft law on the payment of general state budget. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
Prime Minister Hun Sen has called on China to reopen its borders to ASEAN countries to strengthen and promote tourism, economy and investment. The Prime Minister was speaking at the ASEAN-China Summit on Monday, commemorating the 30th ASEAN-China Partnership. Prime Minister Hun Sen also supports the elevation of ASEAN-China relations to a comprehensive strategic partnership. EAC News reporter Dashana Gochan has the story.
Prime Minister Hun Sen attended the ASEAN-China Summit together with other ASEAN leaders and Chinese President Xi Jinping on Monday. The Prime Minister took the opportunity to ask China to reopen its borders to the ASEAN countries. He says in the future, Cambodia would like to encourage China to reopen the entry-exit travel between the ASEAN-China regions in order to strengthen and promote tourism, air transport services, business activities, and trade. Prime Minister Hun Sen has also encouraged ASEAN-China to continue to strengthen regional connectivity and the Belt and Road Initiative to increase the economic potential between the 2 regions. He says that the ASEAN-China relationship is very important for the 2 entities, but also for the whole world, especially in restoring the economy and the promotion of socio-economic growth in the context of COVID-19. The Prime Minister spoke of Cambodia's commitment to elevate ASEAN-China relations to a comprehensive strategic partnership and also highlighted the adoption of the joint statement on the ASEAN-China Summit to commemorate the 30th anniversary of the ASEAN-China dialogue relations. Cambodia also welcomes President Xi Jinping's Global Development Initiative, which will become a major support for developing countries in revitalizing post-COVID-19 socioeconomic growth and promoting human rights through sustainable development and poverty reduction. He says that in this spirit, Cambodia hopes that this initiative will complement and support the ASEAN-China Comprehensive Strategic Partnership to be more meaningful and founded on an adherence to a mutually beneficial and practical cooperation. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
The Water Festival holiday ended on Saturday, but some extended their vacations until Sunday. Up to 1 million citizens have travelled around the kingdom during the 3-day holiday. Even with celebrations cancelled in order to prevent the spread of COVID-19, tourists flocked to hotels and resorts. The Ministry of Tourism says it shows how much Cambodia is ready to welcome back international travellers that are fully vaccinated. EAC News reporter Yuri Matosko has the story.
Just like last year, the well-known celebrations of Water Festival were cancelled as a way to prevent the spread of COVID-19. However, travels between provinces were still allowed, showing a remarkable increase of tourism business during the holidays. According to the announcement by the Ministry of Tourism, more than 910,000 citizens traveled through different provinces in the kingdom during the 3-day Water Festival. 900,000 were national holiday makers and 10,000 travelers were domestic foreigner visitors. Last Sunday was the last day of the extended holiday and the busiest, with 445,000 travelers enjoying their breaks. That's up to 33.76% and 237.28% compared to the second and first days, respectively. This year's top destinations were Phnom Penh, followed by Siem Reap, Pria Sihanoukville, Kampot, Kep, Pursat, Battambang, Kampong Spun, Mundukiri, Kendal, and Ratanakiri. Even with so many people traveling between provinces, the daily infection of COVID-19 remains low. Ministry of Tourism Tong Kon has stressed how the tourism management during the Water Festival proves the kingdom is ready to welcome back tourists that are fully vaccinated against COVID-19. Tourists were observed to have enjoyed their holidays, but following the health measures set by the Ministry of Health. Tong Kon has congratulated municipal and provincial administrations as well as tourism departments for fully promoting the use of the standard operation procedures to prevent COVID-19. The minister has also stressed the positive effects of the holiday as it slowly bounces back of the economy, coming from tourists spending their monies during their trips. The travelers have opted to use more hotels, guest houses, and restaurant services. According to the Tourism Ministry, the Water Festival proves that Cambodia is fully ready to receive even more travelers coming from abroad. Yuri Matosko, EAC News.
Now for a look at news making international headlines this Monday, 22nd of November.
A gunman has opened fire in Jerusalem's Old City, killing one person and wounding at least 4 others. One of them is a rabbi. The attacker was identified as a 42-year-old Palestinian man from East Jerusalem and a confirmed member of the Palestinian militant group Hamas. The gunman has moved through the alleys and fired quite a bit before he was shot dead by Israeli security forces. One civilian shot by the gunman died of his wounds in a hospital. The fatality was named as Eliyahu David K., 26, a recent immigrant from South Africa who worked as a guide at the Western Wall and resided at the central city of Modain. Another was seriously hurt in the attack. He was just walking through the area as they left the nearby Western Wall, where they had been praying, still wrapped in prayer shawls, including a rabbi, and 2 Israel police officers were wounded. Internal Security Minister Omer Bar-Lev has confirmed that the attacker had a submachine gun. The attack took place near a gate to a compound in East Jerusalem that is frequent flashpoint for violence, the location of the Al-Qissa Mosque. It is one of Islam's most revered locations and also the holiest site in Judaism, known as the Temple Mount. This is the second attack in Jerusalem in 4 days. Palestinians want East Jerusalem as the capital of a future state. Israel says the entire city is its eternal and indivisible capital.
Riots broke out in cities across the Netherlands on Sunday. It is the 3rd night in a row that police have clashed with mobs of angry youth who set fires and threw rocks to protest COVID-19 restrictions. 5 police officers were injured and at least 28 people detained across 3 provinces as violent protests continues. Bicycles were torched on the streets of The Hague, causing traffic delays as Dutch police on horseback attempted to restore order. Dutch authorities used water cannon, dogs, and mounted police to stop rioting youths who set fires and threw fireworks in the worst disturbances since a full lockdown led to widespread disorder and more than 500 arrests in January. The latest unrest began on Friday night in Rotterdam. where police opened fire on a crowd that had swelled to hundreds during a protest that the city's mayor said had turned into an orgy of violence. 3 people believed to be hit by police bullets remain in hospital on Sunday. The protests were sparked by opposition to government plans to restrict use of a national corona pass to people who have either recovered from COVID-19 or have been vaccinated, excluding those with a negative test result. The Netherlands reimposed some lockdown measures on its 17.5 million population last weekend for an initial 3 weeks in an effort to slow resurgence of the virus, but daily infections have remained at their highest level since the start of the pandemic. Police carried out charges on horseback and arrested 7 people, one of them for throwing a rock through the windshield of a passing ambulance.
Japanese billionaire Yusaku Maezawa has arrived at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan on Friday for training ahead of his flight to the International Space Station on a Russian-operated spacecraft. Maezawa's mission, which is set for departure on 8th of December, will be the first to take space tourists to the ISS in over a decade. The 45-year-old tycoon is the founder of Japan's largest online fashion mall and the country's 38th richest man. He will travel to the ISS for a 12-day mission with his production assistant, Yoso Hirano, and plans to document the journey for his YouTube channel. They will travel to the orbital station in a Yuso's MS-20 spacecraft with Russian cosmonaut Alexander Misorkin.
After months of delay due to COVID-19, the Cambodia-China Friendship Bridge has finally been inaugurated on Tuesday. Prime Minister Hun Sen has led the inauguration ceremony with Chinese Ambassador to Cambodia, Wang Wengtian, present, representing the Chinese government. The Cambodian Prime Minister calls the Cambodia-China Friendship Bridge as a bridge of destiny. EAC News reporter Ria Soka has the story.
The bridge connects Tang Trang district of Kampong Cham province to Koh Samar of the Bungkomon province. Prime Minister says that it does not only connect the 2 provinces, but also the people, and the most of all, connects 2 countries, China and Cambodia. The Prime Minister calls the Cambodia-China Friendship Bridge as Bridge of Destiny. He says that it also connects him and his wife, Bonrani Hun Sen. He even encouraged couples planning to get married to make their prenup photo shoot at the Cambodia-China Friendship Bridge. The bridge crossing the Mekong River took 3 years in the making, funded by the Chinese government with a worth of $57 million. According to the Prime Minister, it's the 10th bridge built in Cambodia with the aid of China, and there are more infrastructure coming in Cambodia with the help of the Chinese government. Chinese Ambassador to Cambodia Wang Wengtian says that the newly inaugurated bridge connects the hearts of Cambodia and China. He says it will surely boost the tourism and socio-economic recovery of the kingdom. Ambassador Wang Wengtian has also said that China and Cambodia's relationship is a good example of international cooperation in the middle of a pandemic. Prime Minister Hun Sen has expressed huge gratitude to China, calling it as a Cambodia's friend. He says this is the result of the great effort of the royal government prioritizing the people, making sure there are roads, bridges, and schools.
អតិភិបនៃនយោបាយរបស់ខ្ញុំគឺធ្វើម៉េចឲ្យប្រជាជនមានផ្លូវដើរមានស្ពានឆ្លងមានមន្ទីរពេទ្យមានសាលារៀនហើយចំណុចនេះខ្ញុំបានរំលឹកជាញឹកញាប់ពាក្យដែលថាបែងចែកផ្លែផ្កានៃកំណើនសេដ្ឋកិច្ចប្រកបដោយសមធម៌ល្អជាងគេគឺប្រើប្រាស់ធនធានដែលបានមកពីកំណើនសេដ្ឋកិច្ចរបស់កម្ពុជាឬក៏ការជំនួយពីបរទេសនិងកម្ចីពីបរទេសយកមកប្រើប្រាស់កសាងហេដ្ឋារចនាសម្ព័ន្ធគឺនឹងសមធម៌ជាងគេ
Apart from the inauguration ceremony, a groundbreaking was also made for the construction of National Road 71C, connecting Tubong district of the Bungkomon province to Chamkarlu district in Kampong Cham province. The Prime Minister has recalled the years during civil war, saying it has prevented the country's development. But he stressed that the past is all over and that the Cambodian leaders, including him, have sacrificed their lives to save the country and to achieve peace. On Monday, a plane carrying medical supplies from the Chinese Ministry of Defense has arrived in Phnom Penh International Airport. The medical supplies were received by the Cambodian Ministry of National Defense to be used for the prevention of the spread of COVID-19. Reyes Soko, EAC News.
The Ministry of Social Affairs, Veterans and Youth Rehabilitation has started the Gender Equality Training Course on Tuesday. The two-day training course is aimed at helping women in crisis, demonstrating the royal government's commitment to gender equality, including persons with disabilities. EAC News reporter Dashani Gochan has the story.
Speaking on behalf of the Minister, MOSFI Secretary of State M. Chan Makara says the current training reflects the continued commitment of the ministries, institutions, and partner organizations to address gender equality and recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. He has commended the collaborative effort made by the General Secretariat of the Disability Action Council, the Social Welfare Department of the Ministry of Social Affairs, and Cambodian organizations that support women in crises to organize this important training course.
We are currently facing two of the biggest challenges of our generation. First, the epidemic of COVID-19 and its aftermath, and second, the ongoing climate change crisis. Both of these crises are that women are disproportionately affected. Since the early stages of the COVID-19 pandemic, the royal government of Cambodia, under the wise leadership of Prime Minister Hun Sen, has responded effectively in providing emergency assistance, order urgent medical equipment and supplies, including rapid test kits, the provision of COVID-19 vaccine, treatment, and ensure a public health management system for all people, especially pregnant women and girls with disabilities.
M. Chan Makara stresses that the burden of unpaid work falls on the shoulders of women. He has revealed that 59% of women reported spending more time on household chores since the COVID-19 outbreak began. He says these women are facing 2/3 of all job losses and has added that the most affected are young women who raise young children. M. Chan Makara has also expressed deep gratitude to the Australian government through the Australian Embassy in Cambodia for establishing the Australia-Cambodia Cooperation for Sustainable and Equitable Services program, which implements both gender and disability programs in the country with remarkable success. He has emphasized that the Ministry of Social Affairs remains fully committed to helping achieve the ambitious Sustainable Development Goals, including gender equality, reproductive health issues, women's leadership, and strengthening women's resilience through social protection. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
A Cambodian team has won an award at the Digicon 6 Asia this year, an event held online and organized in Japan. The Cambodian animation titled The Soup won the Rising Star category, telling an emotional story involving memories and food. EAC News reporter Yuri Matosko had an interview with one of the co-creators of The Soup animation, who explained more about the story and its production.
Cambodian has been nominated at the Digicon Asia before, but that's the first time the kingdom has won the international award. The Cambodian production titled The Soup has competed with other Asian countries such as China, India, Indonesia, Korea, Laos, Malaysia, Singapore, Sri Lanka, Taiwan, Thailand, Uzbekistan, and Hong Kong. It has been carefully approved by judges from Japan, Korea, and America. Ir Ui was one of the co-creators of The Soup. He has spoken with EAC News, sharing the background story of his animation.
Our film is called The Soup. It's a short emotional animation, which showing an old man's getting his memories getting worse and he start forgetting things. And yeah, he started forgetting his wife. But later on, he tastes of a soup, and then his memories start coming back of what happened before. So it's a reminder of what he's been through this soup that he used to drink, like to eat before with his wife.
The producer told the animation process was faster than the other ones they have made.
It took us 1 month to create a whole story. So it's actually, if you compare this to other animation process, it's quite fast, because in the beginning of this production, we already have the characters, the way we set up characters, and the process of creating new character is set in place to make sure that production of this type of animation that we do will be faster than the normal process of animation.
But Ir Uy has shared with EAC News that although the production of the characters was fast, the storytelling and the sound effects were a challenge.
So the hardest thing of this type of animation, because it's very emotional, and the main thing about this animation is the character doesn't talk. Everything is shown by action. So we have to find a way to convey the message through their actions. So the storytelling is quite the hardest, to find the angle that showing that the old man is getting his memory lost, and how to bring back the memory by all showing, no talking. And with this type of animation, emotional one, the other hardest thing is the sound effects. We have to show the emotion through sounds. And for us, we are not like a sound producer, but producing studio. So it is quite difficult to find the good sound to fit for this type of animation that we make. Yeah. So these are the two hardest parts for us.
The award was announced on Saturday at the Marunouchi Hall in Tokyo and streamed online. The soup animation can be found at the production's Facebook page called Teen Yearn. Yuri Matosko, EAC News.
Cambodia will host the 13th Asia-Europe meeting from Thursday to Friday. As a cultural side event, the Ministry of Culture, in partnership with the European Union and the Asia-Europe Foundation, the ASEAN Cultural Festival, is being held starting on Monday. The Cultural Festival is aimed to celebrate the cultural diversity and artistic exchange between Asia and Europe. EAC News reporter Yuri Matosko has more.
Starting Monday, online performances are being shown through the official website of the AsiaEurope Meeting, promoting cultural diversities. Artistic photographs and paintings are being exhibited at the Kingdom's National Museum. Under the theme Enhancing ASEAN Partnerships Through Arts and Culture, the festival aims to promote people-to-people connectivity between Asia and Europe in the fields of arts and culture. Over 30 events will feature 100 Asian and European artists, showcasing the rich cultural diversity from Asia and Europe through theater, dance, music, visual arts, and interdisciplinary presentations. The opening event on Monday presents a special presentation titled Colorful Cambodia, with performances that includes a blessing dance as a traditional way to welcome guests. The program also showcases a folk dance depicting the traditional ceremony of rice planting and harvesting, a Khmer contemporary dance portraying a dynamic and positive drive of Cambodian youth, and a performance piece highlighting Asia-Europe partnerships along with the ASEAN Flags dance. Besides performances that can be viewed at the ASEAN Cultural Festival website, there are also 4 films screening at the major Cineplex in Phnom Penh. At the same time, a curtain raiser offering a slice of the festival is being shown live to audiences in Brussels and Belgium between the 15th and 26th of November. The ASEAN Cultural Festivals takes place annually on the sidelines of ASEAN Summits or Foreign Ministers Meeting as one of the official site's events. 3 Asian and 3 European artists have worked together in this exhibition at the ASEAN Cultural Festival of this year. They showcase European and Asian partnerships beyond the ministers' meeting at the ASEAN 13, exploring cultural and artistic opportunities. Yuri Matosko, EAC News, National Museum, Phnom Penh.
The 11 suspects involved in a shootout with police authorities on Saturday in Bantay Minche have been charged in court. Around 30 people, including Thai nationals, started a fight in a bar opposite a casino in Poi Phet. The fight wounded 3 police officers who intervened between the 2 rival groups, believed to be Cambodians and Thai gangsters. EAC News reporter Yuri Matosko has the latest.
The suspects were violently throwing glasses bottles on each other, which led the Poi Phet city gendarmerie to intervene. But the suspects stubbornly continued to fight, even shooting with pistols towards the authorities. On Monday afternoon, some of the perpetrators were detained and sent to court. The violent bar fight at Poi Phet city caused 3 militaries to be hurt, 1 seriously wounded near the mouth. Since then, a crackdown force started around the city to find all suspects involved at the shootout. The manhunt is being led by prosecutor of the provincial court, Kud Vatanarej, who has already arrested 11 perpetrators. Cars and knives were confiscated and will be sent to Poi Phet military police base for further investigation. Brigadier General Born Bin says that after being interrogated by police forces, the 11 detained offenders confessed there were a total of 20 people participated in the fights. The Poi Phet military police has been searching for the rest of suspects, while the Thai criminals have fled to Thailand, escaping the Cambodian forces. If the detained suspects were proved to be guilty, they will have to face 2 to 5 years in jail under the crime of intentional violence with aggravating circumstances. Yuri Matosko, EAC News.
Filipino President Rodrigo Duterte, in a rare public rebuke of China, has expressed abhorrence and grave concern on Monday during the ASEAN-China summit. This was in response to last week's firing of a water cannon by Chinese Coast Guard ships at Filipino supply boats in the South China Sea. It happened near a grounded World War II-era warship that serves as an outpost. He says South China Sea issues should not be solved by force.
We abhor the recent event in the Yunnan Shoal and view with grave concern other similar development. This does not speak well of the relations between our nations and partnership.
The Philippine president says that China must remain committed to the early conclusion of the effective and substantive code of conduct in the South China Sea. He said he's simply no other way out of this colossal problem but the rule of law. The Philippines president's words were unusually strong because of Duterte, whose terms end next year, has pursued closer ties with China since taking office in the mid-2016. China's assertion of sovereignty over the South China Sea has set against ASEAN members Vietnam and the Philippines, while Brunei, Taiwan and Malaysia also lay claim to parts. The European Union, meanwhile, was among the latest to hit out at China for using a water cannon against Filipino resupply boats in disputed waters. A statement issued by the EU over the weekend followed similar condemnation from the United States. Chinese President Xi Jinping has told leaders of the 10-country ASEAN at the summit on Monday that Beijing would not bully its smaller regional neighbours, amid rising tension over the South China Sea. The virtual summit hosted by President Xi Jinping without a representative for Myanmar, this is the second time in a month that ASEAN has excluded Myanmar's Commander-in-Chief Min Aung Hlaing from a regional summit. Now for a look at news making international headlines this Tuesday, 23rd of November.
It's like the movie Gone in 60 Seconds. California cops on hunt for 80 looters in ski masks who ransacked Bay Area Nordstrom and filled 25 cars with designer goods in 1-minute raid. It was a coordinated mass robbery in Walnut Creek, happened around 9 p.m. Saturday night. Witnesses say the large group has raided the Bay Area store in under a minute. 2 employees were attacked by looters who punched and kicked them while another was pepper sprayed. All 3 were treated for their injuries on scene. The perpetrators then fled in multiple vehicles that were waiting for them outside. Officers were able to stop one of the vehicles, arresting 2 people. A third person was found nearby on foot and taken into custody. One of the suspects was carrying a firearm. The robbery followed another brazen mob haste of high-end stores on Friday night in San Francisco's Union Square, about 40 kilometers to the west.
A chaotic scene has erupted on Sunday afternoon at the Voskirche Christmas parade as a person in an SUV drove through a barricade, leaving more than 40 people injured, some dead and others running in panic to escape the area. The parade, which runs through Main Street in downtown Voskirche, started at 4 p.m. It appeared to be running as normal until the parade turned into a tragedy before 5 p.m. Witnesses recall that the USV Strike marching band hit a dance team of girls between 9 and 15 years old. The immediate reaction was silence, followed by screaming, running, and checking on those injured. The driver also hit a group of dancing grannies, and at least one person flipped over the hood of the SUV. A 39-year-old Wisconsin man named Darrell E. Brooks was arrested shortly after the collisions and accused of driving an SUV into the crowds. He was booked of 5 counts of intentional homicide according to the report from Voskirche Police Chief. City officials have identified the woman and a man who were killed: 79-year-old Virginia Sorensen, 71-year-old Leanna Wilven, 52-year-old Tamara Durant, and 81-year-old Wilhelm Hospital. There were 48 additional injuries, including 2 children who are in critical condition. Witnesses have claimed that they saw Brooks intentionally drove his maroon SUV through barricades and into a crowd of people at around 4:40 p.m. The PM was found out to be a domestic incident involving a knife before the crash. An officer has opened fire on the SUV but quickly stopped the shooting because there were many people nearby.
And a German NGO ship Sea-Watch 4 carrying 482 migrants until now waiting to be assigned a port on Monday after 7 rescue operations carried out in the Mediterranean Sea. The ship's crew members have rescued 90 migrants from an overcrowded wooden boat off the coast of Lampedusa and 6 other migrants who, according to Sea-Watch, have jumped into the sea from a Libyan Coast Guard patrol boat. Sea-Watch 4 has asked Italian authorities a port of safety for the migrants on board, including 17 pregnant women and 148 minors. A sharp increase in both migrants in recent weeks and the latest mass arrivals will put further pressure on Italy's Prime Minister Mario Draghi's government to secure an agreement with European Union partners over how to deal with the influx. Based on the report of the Interior Ministry data, there are more than 60,000 migrants have disembarked in Italy this year, up from 32,476 in the same period in 2020.
Prime Minister Hun Sen has encouraged investors and worldwide leaders to prioritize the development of digital government and the green industry revolution. The Cambodian Prime Minister delivered a speech during the first Asia-Europe Economic and Business Forum, hosted by the Kingdom of Cambodia on Wednesday. The Prime Minister has also acknowledged the cooperation between the Asian and European regions, emphasizing the contribution of people-to-people relationships and the development of economic ties. EAC news reporter Ria Soka has the story.
The first Asia-Europe Economic and Business Forum is another side event of the 13th Asia-Europe Meeting, which will be hosted by Cambodia from Thursday to Friday. The Business Forum is being held under the theme, Transitioning to a New Normal, Leveraging Global Value Change, Multilateralism, and the 4IR. It serves as a new milestone to reinvigorate the inclusive growth of Asia and Europe as the world shifts into the so-called new normal of the post-COVID-19 recovery. During his speech, Prime Minister Hun Sen says the royal government of Cambodia is honored and proud to organize this first forum. He says it is significant to investors to identify and explore new business and trade opportunities and to strengthen cooperation between public and private sectors, especially to exchange views. He has added that the theme, Leveraging Global Change, Multilateralism, and the Fourth Industrial Revolution aimed at promoting business investment activities and social economic development in the new normal. The Prime Minister has shared his views on what are the issues needed to pay attention in order to restore social economic development, such as new normal adaptations in the context of COVID-19, strengthening unity, adhering to multilateral mechanism and trade system, advancement of digitalization, enhancing bilateral and multilateral cooperation, as well as the promotion of green industry revolution.
Promoting green development is also a foundation to support the long-term socio-economic development, which will enhance economic efficiencies and strengthen climate resiliency. In this regard, we must strengthen and expand regional and global cooperation to promote green development, in particular, encouraging the private sectors to increase green investment, improving investment efficiencies in all relevant sectors, and promoting green industry revolution and green technologies adoption.
Prime Minister Hun Sen has also taken the chance to share Cambodia's COVID-19 situation and how the government managed to control the pandemic.
With good control of COVID-19 situation, as of November 18, 2021, the royal government has achieved a vaccination rate of more than 88% of the total population of 16 million. In addition, the royal government of Cambodia has been formulating and implementing concrete policies measures to attract additional foreign investment by building infrastructures and improving the transportation system, both soft and hard, improving trade facilitation, developing human resources, setting up IT and digital systems, as well as developing financial sectors.
The Prime Minister has highlighted the royal government's effort in expanding wider exporting market by establishing various free trade agreements such as the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement and the free trade agreements with China and Korea, which will take effect soon. Reyes Soko, EAC News.
Prime Minister Hun Sen has received a visit from the newly appointed Vietnamese ambassador Nguyen Hoi Tang on Wednesday at the Peace Palace. The two discussed the cooperation between the two nations, especially the border issues. Prime Minister Hun Sen has urged Vietnam through its ambassador in the kingdom to establish a border agricultural agreement. EAC News reporter Rio Soka has the story.
Early morning courtesy visit was received by Prime Minister Hun Sen from Vietnamese Ambassador Nguyen Huy Tang on Wednesday. One of the important topics discussed during their meeting was the agricultural situation in the border. Prime Minister's personal assistant Ieng Sepalet says Prime Minister Hun Sen has encouraged Ambassador Nguyen Huy Tang to pay more attention on increasing the trade volume of the two countries. With his desire to increase the volume of trade, Prime Minister Hun Sen wants to establish an agreement in the border's agricultural sector. The Prime Minister specifies about the supply of raw materials, the development and supply of seeds, the use of water along the border, and the fight against pests. On the other side, Vietnamese Ambassador Nguyen Huy Tang has thanked Prime Minister Hun Sen for the support Vietnam has received from Cambodia, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. He has also committed to work hard with his diplomatic mission in the kingdom to improve Cambodia-Vietnam relations through diplomacy, politics, security, defense, trade, investment, economy, agriculture, COVID-19 fight, and other sectors. Reyes Soko, EAC News.
Yet more praise for Cambodia's fight against the pandemic. Prime Minister Hun Sen has received a courtesy visit from French Ambassador to Cambodia, Jacques Pellet, on Wednesday. The ambassador has conveyed to Prime Minister Hun Sen that the French government praises Cambodia for its continued development in the country, despite the COVID-19 pandemic. The French ambassador has congratulated the Prime Minister for leading the Kingdom of Cambodia to great development at this time. He has also praised Cambodia's rapid vaccination policy, which prevented the spread of COVID-19 and led to the full reopening of the country. Another success brought by Cambodia's vaccination is the reopening of the economy, schools and businesses throughout the country. Ambassador Pellet has told Prime Minister Hun Sen how happy are the 400 French companies for Cambodia's vaccination success. He says the success leads to improved economic and trade activity. The ambassador has also informed Prime Minister Hun Sen that the French President Emmanuel Macron will attend the AsiaEurope Meeting summit, which Cambodia is hosting on Thursday and Friday. Prime Minister Hun Sen has warmly welcomed the French ambassador and congratulated him on his diplomatic mission in the kingdom. The Prime Minister has also agreed with the ambassador's point on strengthening of cooperation between Cambodia and France, as well as the strengthening of cooperation in various international frameworks. The Swedish embassy in Cambodia has pledged to support the employment of persons with disabilities within the kingdom. The Ministry of Labour and Vocational Training has met with the Swedish First Secretary in Cambodia on Tuesday. The two officials have discussed stepping up the cooperation between Cambodia and Sweden, especially in the employment sector. Swedish First Secretary Magnus Sanderson has pledged to Minister of Labour Is Sam Heng to establish at least one job centre in all 25 capitals and provinces in the Kingdom of Cambodia. The Swedish government aims to support the employment of persons with disabilities in Cambodia under the project Labour Market for All People, supporting disabled job seekers. The project was created 2 months ago by the Royal Government of Cambodia in collaboration with Sweden, non-government organisations and the United Nations. The minister has stressed that Cambodia has started to reopen the country to restore the nation's economy for further development and progress, thus creating conditions for the lives of the people to be better in the new normal trajectory. Samuelson has expressed his belief that the project will expand the scope of people to find employment opportunities and provide labour to meet the needs of institutions, companies, factories, enterprises for their production chain. He has vowed that the Swedish government will continue to support the Royal Government of Cambodia. Currently, the project has established 13 job centres and 3 mobility job centres throughout the country. Cambodia's Ministry of Interior and the Laos Ministry of Public Security have met virtually on Monday to sign a memorandum of understanding on security cooperation for 2022. Under this contract, the two countries agreed to enhance and strengthen cooperation on criminal activities across the borders, including the continued suppression of drug trafficking. EAC news reporter Dashani Gochan has more.
The Cambodian Minister of Interior, Saw King, met with the Laotian Minister of Public Security, Lieutenant General Ville Lakamphong, through a virtual conference on Monday. They have signed a security cooperation agreement for 2022. With this MOU, Cambodia and Laos have agreed to continue fostering links between the two countries and to strengthen security across the border to combat and address cross-border crimes such as drug trafficking, smuggling, illegal deforestation, poaching, and illegal hunting. The transit of people across the border was also highlighted as a key part of the security cooperation. Both countries agreed to continue monitoring and facilitating safe and legal transit across the border, in accordance with respective country laws and procedures. This includes the supervision of matters such as cross-border trade and tourism exchange. At the meeting, the two ministers shared words of praise on the level of good relations between Cambodia and Laos, and pledged to continue moving forward with the same cooperative spirit of friendship, solidarity, good neighborliness, and mutual respect for sovereignty. The ministers also commended the mutual support of Cambodian and Laotian authorities and law enforcement officers stationed at the border, who continue to do good work despite the difficult situation brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
The Royal Government of Cambodia has participated in an international virtual conference on the prevention of violence against women with disabilities on Wednesday. It was hosted by ADD International Cambodia, promoting the rights of women with disabilities. The two-day webinar envisions women with disabilities to be respected by promoting opportunities to free them from poverty and to protect them from gender violence. EAC news reporter Yuri Matosko has the details.
The international conference was participated by leaders from different parts of the world, including the USA, the United Kingdom, and a number of countries in Africa. Director of the General Social Development Department, Ying So Chiatra, is one of the representatives from Cambodia, expressing the royal government's support to protect the women's rights, especially those with disabilities. Secretary of State of the Ministry of Social Affairs and Secretary General of the General Secretariat of the Council for Disability Action, Enchan Makara, has also delivered a message saying that violence against women and girls with disabilities is a global concern that carries negative economic, social, and health consequences for women and their families. He says girls with disabilities who witness domestic violence are found to have an increased risk of psychological and behavioral problems, calling everyone to work together in order to avoid physical, sexual, economic, or psychological harm to women or girls with disabilities. Makara has stressed that Cambodia is committed to build the necessary foundations for the successful implementation of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, enhancing access to social, economic, and material support, and increasing prevention of vulnerabilities for violence and exploitation. Makara has urged national and international development partners to cooperate and set objectives for the National Strategic Plan on Disability 2019-2021, as well as the Phase 3 of the National Action Plan on Prevention of Violence Women 2019-2023. UN Women Regional Coordination for Bangkok, Sarak Nips, has also spoken, stressing that women empowering needs to be aligned with building capacity inside the communities, so women with disability can be inserted at the local economy free from any discrimination. Yuri Matosko, EAC News.
Since the establishment of dialogue 30 years ago, China and the Association of Southeast Asian Nations have moved forward, hand in hand, with fruitful results in various fields, becoming a fine example of the most successful and vibrant bilateral relations in the Asia-Pacific. Chairing and addressing the summit via video link on Tuesday, President Xi Jinping has announced the establishment of a comprehensive strategic partnership between China and the 10-member bloc.
According to analysts from ASEAN member nations, The speech of President Xi Jinping at the special summit to commemorate the 30th anniversary of China-ASEAN dialogue relations is going to inject more and stronger impetus into regional and global prosperity. The Chinese president has hailed the good neighborly friendship and win-win cooperation between China and ASEAN over the past 30 years, saying the valuable cooperation experience lays the foundation and provides guidelines for developing their comprehensive strategic partnership. China's leader has stated that the gains in bilateral cooperation are attributable to the unique geographical proximity and cultural affinity, and more importantly, to the fact that both sides have actively embraced the development trend of the times and made the right historic choice. Trade between China and the ASEAN has skyrocketed by 85 times since the two sides established their dialogue relations in 1991. Since 2009, China has remained ASEAN's largest trading partner for 12 consecutive years, while in 2020, ASEAN also became China's largest trading partner. The Director of Academic Affairs at the ASEAN Studies Center, P.T. Sri Sangnam, says the Chinese president's speech was very impressive, pointing out mutual respect, assistance to each other, inclusiveness, as well as mutual learnings. While the former Director, Public Affairs Department of Association of Southeast Asian Nations Secretary Danny Lee Tian-chong also says that China and ASEAN have a very long history of very good relations and, of course, very comprehensive cooperation, and the collaboration is going to be brought up to the next level. China has affirmed its full support and sent ASEAN nations 150 million doses of vaccines for free. That means a faster operation down to the ground, down to the communities that will need it very badly.
Now for a look at news making international headlines this Wednesday, 24th of November.
At least 46 people were killed when a bus with North Macedonian plates has caught fire and crashed on a highway in western Bulgaria on Tuesday. Bulgarian Interior Minister says that people are clustered inside. They are burnt to ash. All the victims need to be identified person by person, which will be very difficult. 7 people who left from the burning bus were rushed to the Pergov Emergency Hospital in the Bulgarian capital Sofia and were in stable condition. They had suffered burns and one had a broken leg. They narrated that the bus was packed with tourists who were mostly Macedonian. The bus slammed into a barrier and went up in flames while returning from Istanbul in Turkey to North Macedonia around 2 a.m. on Tuesday. 12 children were among the dead, including twin boys aged 4. Only 4 men and 3 women survived the disaster. The scale of the loss has caused shock and grief in Bulgaria and North Macedonia, where 3 days of national mourning have been declared. Macedonian Prime Minister Zoran Zaev has described the crash as horrifying. It is considered the deadliest bus accident in the Balkan country's history.
A ferry capsized in eastern Sri Lanka on Tuesday, killing at least 6 people as confirmed by the police. 20 people have been rescued, but it's not certain how many people were on the ferry. The boat can carry between 25 to 35 people. 4 children were among the dead and another child is in intensive care. Navy divers have suspended rescue efforts after searching the area of the lagoon where the rudimentary vessel overturned, but will remain on standby. 17 people have been rescued so far. It was not immediately known what caused the ferry to capsize. The ferry was traveling from Kurinchakani to the town of Kenya along the country's eastern coast and about 260 kilometers northeast of the capital, Colombo. Ferry accidents are relatively rare in Sri Lanka because many locations are now connected by bridges. However, the bridge that connects the 2 towns has been closed for repairs, forcing people to use rudimentary vessels to cross the river.
And at least 2 people lost their lives and 16 were injured in a series of explosions in the storage area of a private rocket manufacturing facility, Serbian turbojet and rocket engine maker EDIPRO, in a southern suburb of Belgrade on Tuesday. Around 40 employees were at the production facility at the time of the explosions. An eyewitness recalls he saw two intermittent phases in the sky as if someone had actually fired two rockets into the air, and between them, a large smoke mushroom cloud. At the same time, he heard two explosions as if someone was firing rockets. The smoke mushroom was huge. All the people living in the surrounding houses went outside. 11 firefighting vehicles with 36 officers were sent to the scene and participated in the rescue operation. The firefighters and rescuers have stabilized the situation and are searching the terrain using a drone with thermal imaging equipment to locate any more victims and injured persons. 500 rockets with 30 kilograms of explosive each have been stored inside the facility. In 2008, 3 people were injured in a similar explosion at Idipro.
EAC News fully supports the Royal Government of Cambodia's preventative and administrative measures against COVID-19. But we need you to play your part in helping bring the 20 February community transmission event to an end. Wash your hands regularly, sanitize wherever possible. Keep an eye on your body temperature. Use the Stop COVID QR code and maintain a safe social distance. But above all, please, 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 wear a mask. Only together can we beat COVID-19. If it's happening and you need to know about it, you'll get it all right here. EAC News brings you updates and breaking news in English across all of our platforms and channels. The EAC News app, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and our website www.eacnews.asia. Join me, Andrew Barnes-Roberts, and the rest of the EAC News team every day on your favorite channels. EAC News, Cambodia made clear.
After months of preparation, Cambodia has finally opened the 13th Asia-Europe meeting on Thursday. The event is being observed as a great opportunity for Cambodia to showcase its competency in handling of international gatherings. Prime Minister Hun Sen has delivered a message during the opening, urging unity among the leaders of the two regions. EAC News reporter Ria Soka has that story.
The two-day 13th Asia-Europe Meeting Summit is being held under the theme Strengthening Multilateralism for Shared Growth. In his opening speech, Prime Minister Hun Sen says the theme is more relevant than ever in the context of striving for socio-economic recovery while living with COVID-19. He emphasizes the need to further reinforce partnership between Asia and Europe to maintain a strong multilateralism that will bring about a global growth that is not only sustainable, but can also be shared. He recalls the first time Cambodia joined the ASEAN in 2004. He says Cambodia has always paid great attention to the process of the summit. He has highlighted how Cambodia has adopted the ASEAN Ministerial Statement on COVID-19 since September 2020 and also published a research book in collaboration with the Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia to support ASEAN 13 and share the vision of the ASEAN process. Following the Cambodia's Prime Minister's speech, other heads of state from Asia and Europe also delivered their speeches for the international event. European Council President Charles Michel says Europe and Asia's multilateral cooperation is very important for global recovery. He says Europe's commitment to universal and democratic rights and fundamental freedoms will remain. Russian Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin also delivered a speech at the opening. He says he is confident that the Asia-Europe meeting will give further impetus for the continent's integration processes and help to strengthen the practical cooperation from Lisbon to Canberra and Wellington. He has added that members should use ASEAN's potential in developing such connectivity areas as transport, construction, modernization of remote areas, digitalization, education, and tourism. The 13th Asia-Europe meeting is expected to promote Cambodia's rich culture and heritage. Rhea Soko, EAC News.
Chim Yip replaces the late Neon Nel, who died on the 5th of November. The Standing Committee of the National Assembly has previously set agendas on Monday, including the approval of the draft law on the ASEAN Protocol on strengthening dispute resolution mechanisms. EAC News reporter Yuri Matosko has the story.
After 3 weeks of being vacated, the first vice president of the National Assembly has finally been filled. The Standing Committee has elected Chim Yip on Thursday. The vice presidency seat of the National Assembly has been emptied since Nguyen Nhiel passed away on the 5th of November. Chim Yip was born in 1946 in Prek Cham village at Piem Ro district in Prey Vang province. He was the teacher and school principal of the popular socialist community led by Prince Norodom Sihanouk, and after he has turned into the commander of Tank Brigade at the Khmer Republic between 1975 and 1979. Following the collapse of the Khmer rule, Chim Yip was appointed as the Prey Vang's governor. In 1988, he became the Minister of Tourism until 1993, when he turned to be a member of the parliament until Thursday. He placed the late Nguyen Nhiel's seat to become Cambodia's first vice president of the National Assembly. The National Assembly has also discussed about the approval of the draft law on the ASEAN Protocol on strengthening dispute resolution mechanisms, the approval of the 2022 draft law on finance for the management, and approval of the 2020 draft law on the payment of the general state budget. Yuri Matosko, EAC News.
The 10th Asia-Europe Foundation Editors Roundtable has focused on fake news. The roundtable is a side event of the 13th Asia-Europe Meeting. It was attended by journalists, editors, and government officials, engaging in a discussion about the spread of fake news in the two regions. EAC news reporter Dashani Gochan has the story.
The two-day ASEF Editors Roundtable was held under the theme of strengthening the cooperation between journalists in combating fake news. Journalists, editors, and government officials have discussed and exchanged perspectives on current affairs pertaining to fake news and misinformation. This is aimed to formulate effective strategies to combat its rise and also facilitate cooperation between journalists in both continents. On Tuesday, the first day of the roundtable was held under the presidency of the Minister of Information, Q Kanyarit, who delivered a message on the risk that fake news poses to a country's unity and peace. He has stated that technological advancements and social media have helped promote the spread of fake news, which can have the negative effect of exacerbating distrust, division, and violence between people. He has stated that Cambodia is no exception to this phenomenon, and provided details on the Anti-Fake News Committee that was established in Cambodia at the ministerial level in mid-2020. The minister also stressed his belief that strong leadership, teamwork, and cooperation act as the best and most effective approach to minimizing the spread of fake news. ASEF Executive Director Ambassador Morikawa Toru, on his side, has emphasized the importance of the roundtable event in bringing editors and senior journalists across Asia and Europe together to address the growing problem of fake news. He specifically highlighted the spread of fake news in regard to COVID-19 vaccination as an ongoing issue that has hindered global public health efforts. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
The Minister of Justice, Khairut, has received a courtesy visit from the Ambassador of Turkey in Cambodia, Adar Ulu, on Wednesday. One of the major discussions was about the extradition agreement between the two countries. The Turkish ambassador has requested for an extradition agreement, agreeing on the central focal points. EAC News reporter Yuri Matosko has the story.
Turkey is aiming to strengthen legal cooperation with Cambodia. This was relayed on Wednesday by the Turkish ambassador Ayda Unglu to the Minister of Justice Kudret during her courtesy visit. The minister has warmly welcomed the ambassador. The meeting was at a request of the ambassador to arrange for an extradition agreement between Turkey and Cambodia. In response, the minister has instructed the Turkish side to prepare a formal submission through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs so that the Ministry of Justice can study the request to add in the preparation of the extradition agreement in the future. At the same time, the minister and the ambassador also agreed to set their own focal points for the implementation of this work, as well as to strengthen cooperation between Cambodia and Turkey. Yuri Matosko, EAC News.
Cambodian authorities at Banteay Minche province have deported 103 Thai nationals living and working illegally in Cambodia. They were previously detained after being found crossing into Cambodia undocumented. Before being handed back over to the Thai police forces at the border, the illegal workers have undergone COVID-19 tests, and 34 of them tested positive. News reporter Yuri Matosko has the story.
The 103 Thai citizens were handed back to Thailand on Wednesday afternoon at the Cambodian-Thailand Friendship Bridge in Poi Phet International Border Gate. According to the spokesman for the National Armed Forces, the handover was a request from the Thai side to bring their nationals back to Thailand, with both authorities unable to identify how the illegal workers have crossed the border. A COVID-19 test was conducted to the Thai nationals before they were received back to their country. As a result, 34 of them have tested positive for COVID-19. The joint forces have also stated that some of the Thai nationals that were sent back to Thailand were deported from Pur Sat province, while others were suspected of being involved in kidnapping. Yuri Matosko, EAC News.
China accuses the United States of a mistake after US President Joe Biden's administration invited Taiwan to its Summit for Democracy next month. Beijing urges Washington to abide by the One China principle and to stop providing any platform or shelter for Taiwanese forces, amid rising tensions with the self-governing island.
China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Lijian has announced on Wednesday that China firmly opposes the United States inviting Taiwan to its Summit for Democracy next month. China declares that there is only one China in the world. The government of the People's Republic of China is the sole legal government representing all of China, and Taiwan is an inalienable part of the Chinese territory. He stresses that when they play with fire together with Taiwan independence forces, they'll eventually catch fire. China claims democratically ruled Taiwan as its own territory and views the island as a renegade province. There are 110 participants in the State Department's invitation list for the virtual summit on 9 to 10 December, which aims to help stop democratic backsliding and the erosion of rights and freedoms worldwide. The list does not include China or Russia.
You are watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. Sweden's first female Prime Minister resigns hours after being appointed. Magdalena Andersson was announced as Swedish PM on Wednesday. Less than 12 hours in the top job, she quit after the Green Party left her coalition, plunging the country into political uncertainty. The Green Party left after Parliament rejected the coalition's budget bill. The Parliament voted for a budget drawn up by the opposition, which includes the anti-immigration far right. But leader of the Social Democrats, Magdalena Andersson, says she has told the Speaker of Parliament she hoped to be appointed Prime Minister again as the head of a single-party government.
This morning, I was selected Prime Minister by Parliament to form a coalition government with representatives for the Social Democrats and the Green Party. The Green Party has now announced that they no longer want to be part of the government. Here, each party has to make its own choices, and according to constitutional praxis, a coalition government ought to resign if one party leaves the government. My assessment is that the same, of course, needs to happen even when the Parliament has chosen a new Prime Minister and when the new government has not yet assumed power.
She says for her it's a question of respect, but she also does not want to lead a government where there could be reasons to question its legitimacy. The Green Party has declared that it would support her in a new confirmation vote in Parliament, while the Centre Party has promised to abstain, which in practice amounts to the same as backing her candidacy. The Left Party has also said it would back her. The opposition moderates and Christian Democrats are backed by the Sweden Democrats, but cannot command a majority in Parliament. Andersson took over as Prime Minister from Stefan Löfven, as head of a minority two-party coalition supported by the Left and Centre parties. But that alliance collapsed when the Centre Party refused to back the new government's finance bill. Now for a look at news making international headlines this Thursday, 25th of November.
Colombia's armed forces seized 10 tons cocaine on Tuesday from the leftist National Liberation Army worth over $300 million. The Colombian Defense Minister Diego Molano says it is the most important blow in terms of cocaine seizure this year. It is the largest shipment so far this year, and the armed forces has destroyed 2 drug labs in an anti-narcotics mission in the southeast of the country. The cocaine in the labs were found in a rural zone of the Samaniego municipality located in Colombia's Nariño province near the border with Ecuador. Despite decades of fighting against drug trafficking, Colombia remains a top global producer of cocaine and faces constant pressure from the United States to lower the sales of coca crops, the drug's main ingredient, as well as production of cocaine. Drug trafficking helps finance illegal armed groups in Colombia amid a long-running internal armed conflict, which has left more than 260,000 dead. Security forces have revealed, aside from the ELN, ex-members of the demobilized FARC guerrillas who reject a 2016 peace deal are involved in drug trafficking, as well as criminal gangs. Colombia's military and police confiscated a record 505 tons of cocaine in 2020.
Equities Bank's Ankawa branch in Kisumu was the target on Tuesday of a second bank robbery in 6 years that ended in a dramatic search for suspects. A footage shows police officers climbing through the bank's windows with guns drawn to try and subdue the suspected robbers, while outside the bank a crowd gathered to watch. Police officers engaged the suspect robbers for hours in a shootout. More than 20 people, including the bank manager, several staff, and some customers, were still being held in police custody for questioning over the attempted heist. The dramatic encounter began at around 11 a.m. on Tuesday, when 4 suspected robbers are said to have raided the bank premises along Ankawa Avenue. From the police reporters, one of the suspects who had been cornered inside the bank hurled tear gas inside, which sent people in confusion and running for their dear lives.
And NASA finally launched a spacecraft with one simple mission: smash into an asteroid at 24,140 kilometers per hour. The mission of the Double Asteroid Redirection Test, or DART, is to test whether slamming a spacecraft into an asteroid can nudge it into a different trajectory. Results from the test, if successful, will come in handy if NASA and other space agencies ever need to deflect an asteroid to save Earth and avert a catastrophic impact. The DART spacecraft lifted off atop a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket on Wednesday at 1:21 a.m. Eastern Time from the Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. The rocket has reached space before sending its reusable booster back toward the ocean to land on a SpaceX drone ship. It will take about an hour to deploy the spacecraft in orbit, and hours after that it will unfurl solar panels to power the vehicle on its journey. NASA has hosted a live stream of the launch on its YouTube channel that started at 12:30 a.m. on Wednesday.
Minutes, 8 seconds.
The President of the National Assembly of Cambodia and co-chair of the 11th Asia-Europe Parliamentary Partnership Meeting, Heng Samrin, has stated that the first online ASAP 11 meeting held on the 16th of November went well. The outcome of that meeting was a joint declaration addressing common challenges experienced by the two regions. He hopes that the declaration during the meeting will be implemented for the benefit of both Asia and Europe. EAC news reporter Dashana Gochan has the story.
The President of the National Assembly, Heng Samrin, shared remarks on the joint declaration of the ASAP 11 meeting at the 13th Asia-Europe Summit on Thursday. He has said that this declaration affirms the strengthening of parliamentary relations between Asia and Europe for peace, security, prosperity, prevention of epidemics, and the promotion of post-COVID-19 socio-economic recovery, including the recovery of a green economy which addresses the interaction of security, water, energy, and food. Heng Samrin has added that the declaration is aimed at resolving common issues between the two regions and providing policy recommendations in an effort to serve the common interests of both regions as well as the world. He says he sincerely hopes the recommendations outlined in the ASAP 11 declaration will be considered and implemented to achieve lasting progress, prosperity, and well-being for the people of both continents. The 11th Asia-Europe Parliamentary Partnership Meeting, held and led by the Cambodian Parliament on November 16th, was attended by 170 delegates from 31 countries in Asia and Europe, including key partners such as the European Union, ASEAN, and the Parliamentary Association for Peace of the Global Peace Federation. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
As the 13th Asia-Europe Meeting Summit ended on Friday, Prime Minister Hun Sen has made 3 points to rebuild socio-economic development back. He says that these points are needed to be prioritised, especially in the middle of COVID-19 pandemic that badly affects everyone's lives. The Prime Minister's three key points for prioritisation for the ASEAN leaders and partners are solving the problem caused by COVID-19 pandemic, pushing the social economic back amid COVID-19, and rebuilding the future with durability. He says the second plenary meeting focuses on COVID-19 vaccine with good price, with no discrimination on the source of vaccine authorised by the WHO. Prime Minister says the joint efforts is essential for the reopening of tourism. He has added that the royal government of Cambodia has identified vaccination as a key measure, in addition to the preventative measures to protect public health and save lives. Prime Minister Hun Sen proudly shared that Cambodia has already vaccinated over 88% of the total population of 16 million, leading to the reopening of the country's socio-economic activities, including tourism, in the new normal way. The chairman of the Cambodian Human Rights Committee, Keo Remy, has met with the UN Resident Coordinator and UNDP County Director for Cambodia, Pauline Thomas, on Thursday. He has informed the UN Resident Coordinator that the government is working towards human rights. On the UN side, Pauline Thomas has urged the royal government to draft a law on same-sex marriage. EAC news reporter Jashana Gochan has the details.
The UN Resident Coordinator, Pauline Tamesis, has urged the chairman of the Cambodian Human Rights Committee, Keo Remy, to draft a law on same-sex marriage. The discussion took place during their meeting on Thursday. Keo Remy responded that they will first need to assess and study about the implementation of a same-sex marriage law in the country. In addition, the CHRC chairman has also detailed the progress Cambodia has made on human rights. He highlighted the anti-discrimination and gender equality laws that Cambodia is preparing. He added that the Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Justice, and Ministry of Women's Affairs are currently studying the process of preparing these laws. The chairman says they are following the recommendations made in the Universal Periodic Review released in 2019. UN Coordinator Pauline Tamesis has acknowledged the progress made, especially in regard to the goal of eliminating violence against women and achieving gender equality. She has encouraged the government to increase education and outreach to continue addressing these issues. Both the UN representative and the chairman of the Human Rights Committee agreed to continue cooperation between the two groups, including plans to jointly organize a national workshop on the Universal Periodic Review midterm report and the workshop on the right to information law at the beginning of 2022. The 2019 Universal Periodic Review provided Cambodia with 198 human rights-related recommendations from UN member states. The Cambodian government accepted 173 of these recommendations and noted an additional 25. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
In Battambang, a surprising development in the case of the cache of arms found on the border. An official of the Ministry of Interior and 6 other ex-soldiers were detained by the Battambang provincial authorities. They have already been charged at the Phnom Penh Municipal Court for allegedly being involved in arms trafficking. The arrests come after a series of weapons were found hidden along the Cambodian-Thai border in Battambang province. The cache was a sizable one, including 100 AK-47s, 3 M79s, 99 AKs, and a 12.7mm machine gun with 508 rounds of ammunition. The destination of the weapons at current is not known. Sources from Battambang provincial authorities have revealed that the arrested officers were generals, officers of the General Department of Technical Equipment of the Ministry of National Defence, a colonel, lieutenants, soldiers and ex-soldiers, border guards and 1 officer from the Private Investment Department of the General Department of Immigration. Long-awaited news that will cheer the heart of many in Siem Reap's tourist-related industries. Director of Siem Reap's International Airport, Bun Rota, has announced that Siem Reap is now open to receive fully vaccinated foreign travellers. He has also specified that visa-exempted countries, especially from the ASEAN regions, are also welcome to Cambodia. EAC News reporter Yuri Matosko has the story.
There are a few announcements of late that could be considered more important to the residents of Siem Reap. With the opening of international travel, a long-last and dormant tourist industry is set to spring back into life with the opening of the international airport. The crucial announcement was made at a meeting on Wednesday, assessing and ensuring the safety of guests to give visitors a safe as well as a memorable experience. Director of Siem Reap International Airport, Bun Rata, says that Cambodia has a special list that allows residents of some countries to enter Cambodia without a visa. Mostly is the Asian countries, which is Cambodia's open sky policy. Although open arms welcoming tourists, he has reminded that travelers to adhere to the stricter requirements in place with the vaccination on top. These also include PCR test certificates taken 72 hours before arrival and rapid tests upon arrival at the airport to ensure the safety of Cambodian citizens as well as other visitors. Yuri Matosko, EAC News.
South African scientists have detected a new COVID-19 variant in small numbers and are working to understand its potential implications. The announcement came out on Thursday. Officials characterized the variant, which has double the number of mutations as the currently dominant Delta variant, and it is described as the worst one yet.
Scientists call the new COVID variant as B11529. They say it has a very unusual constellation of mutations, which are concerning because they could help it evade the body's immune response and make it more transmissible. It has double the number of mutations as the currently dominant Delta variant. Early signs from the diagnostic laboratories suggest the variant have rapidly increased in the most populated province of Gauteng and may already spread to 8 other provinces. In a regular daily update on confirmed cases countrywide, the National Institute for Communicable Diseases later reported 2,465 new COVID-19 infections, slightly less than double the previous day's infections. The NICD did not attribute the latest resurgence to the new variant, although some leading local scientists suspect it is the cause. South Africa has confirmed around 100 specimens as B11529, but the variant has also been found in Botswana and Hong Kong, with the Hong Kong case from a traveler from South Africa. As many as 90% of new cases in Gauteng could be B11529, according to the scientists. The data are limited, but experts are working overtime with all the established surveillance systems to understand the new variant and what the potential implications could be. South Africa has requested an urgent sitting of a World Health Organization working group on virus evolution on Friday to discuss the new variant. South Africa was the first country to detect the Beta variant last year. Beta is one of only 4 labeled of concern by the WHO because there is evidence that it is more contagious and vaccines work less well against it. Meanwhile, Britain has made an announcement that they are much concerned by a newly identified coronavirus variant spreading in South Africa on Thursday, which might make vaccines less effective and imperil progress made across the world fighting the pandemic. Britain is temporarily banning flights from 6 African countries, which will be included to the COVID-19 travel red list. Those countries are South Africa, Namibia, Lesotho, Eswatini, Zimbabwe, and Botswana.
Our scientists are deeply concerned about this variant. I'm concerned, of course, and that's one of the reasons we've taken this action today. I will say we don't know enough about this variant. No one does. I think probably the UK knows more than most because of the excellent work we do on surveillance. But I think it is right that we take this approach and we remain cautious.
The UK Health Security Agency said that the variant called B11529 has a spike protein that was dramatically different to the one in the original coronavirus that COVID-19 vaccines are based on. It was only first identified at the start of the week, but Britain rushed to introduce travel restrictions in South Africa and 5 neighboring countries, acting much more swiftly than with previous variants. Javid has claimed that more data was needed, but the travel restrictions were necessary as a precaution.
A North Korean man was sentenced to death by firing squad after being found smuggling the famous Netflix series Squid Game. Squid Game is a South Korean survival drama series which draws from a similarly named Korean children's game. And like the drama series, one man has risked his life to play the real-life deadly game in North Korea.
North Korean President Kim Jong-un is waging war on slang, jeans, and foreign films. The country has a sweeping law which seeks to stamp out any kind of foreign influence, harshly punishing anyone caught with foreign films, clothing, or even using slang. The North Korean guards make sure that everyone knows the penalty for smuggling illicit videos is death. Because of this strict law, a North Korean man was sentenced to death by firing squad after students were caught watching a smuggled copy of the popular Netflix show Squid Game. The man was accused of bringing digital copies of the series back from China and selling them on USB flash drives. The student who bought a copy was sentenced to life in prison, while 6 others who watched were sentenced to 5 years of hard labor. Teachers and administrators at the school are also being punished, with some being fired and sent to work in mines. 109 Sangmu, officially known as Surveillance Bureau Group 109, is a specialized government strike force that hunts down illegal video watchers. While consuming media content from capitalist countries like the US and South Korea is illegal under North Korean dictatorship and punishable by death, this is the first time the elimination of reactionary thought and culture law has been applied in a case involving minors. It is reported that the regime will now mercilessly interrogate those arrested to trace every person in the distribution chain, leading to further arrests. Residents are engulfed by anxiety as the 7 caught will be mercilessly interrogated until the authorities can find out how the show was smuggled in when the border is closed due to the pandemic. North Korea is taking this incident very seriously, saying that the students' education was being neglected. The Central Committee has dismissed the school principal, their youth secretary, and their homeroom teacher. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
Now for a look at news making international headlines this Friday, the 26th of November.
The Director General of Anti-Narcotics Force, Major General Gulam Shabir Nirejo, has reported that about 18 metric tons of drugs worth $1.3 billion were confiscated and burnt on Wednesday on the outskirts of Islamabad. He claims that it's the money which spoils Pakistan's economy. It's a black money which causes inflation in everything. Therefore, the drug is not only spoiling the youth, but it is spoiling the economy as well. Pakistan is strategically located at a place where 84% of the world's heroin is being produced in neighboring country Afghanistan. And most of the time, the transits happen through Pakistan to the international community and internally as well. During the drug burning ceremony, Director General of ANF has claimed that his organization has seized 184 metric tons of narcotics this year.
6 people died and dozens were trapped after a fire in a coal mine in the Khmer region of Russia's Siberia on Thursday, with close to 50 people still trapped inside, emergency services and local authorities has relayed. Rescues have already saved more than 200 people from the mine. There were 285 people in the Litsia Vasinaya mine and 236 had been brought to the surface. The rescue operation was ongoing. Regional Governor Sergei Tsilivilev has passed on that a total of 6 people had died and another 43 people had been injured, 2 of whom were in a serious condition. A number of workers have suffered from smoke poisoning.
Dozens of migrants came ashore at Dungeness on the Kent coast of the UK on Wednesday after crossing from France by boat. Migrants, including young children, were brought ashore by a rescue vessel after crossing the channel between France and Britain aboard an inflatable lifeboat. Others were intercepted by Border Force officials. The channel is one of the world's busiest shipping lanes and currents are strong. Overloaded lifeboats often barely stay afloat and are at the mercy of waves. At least 27 people were reported to have died on Wednesday after their lifeboat capsized while attempting the crossing. The International Organization for Migration has declared it was the biggest single loss of life in the channel since it began collecting data in 2014. Officials consider it the worst disaster involving migrants in the waterway separating the countries. According to fishermen, more migrants left France's northern shores than usual to take advantage of calm sea conditions, although the water was bitterly cold. One fisherman called the rescue services after seeing an empty boat and people floating motionless nearby. 5 women and a girl were among the dead. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has said he was shocked by what happened, adding the United Kingdom would leave no stone unturned to stop human trafficking gangs. 4 people had been arrested near to the Belgian border, announcing those people are possible suspects directly linked to the illegal and dangerous crossing. On Wednesday evening, Prime Minister Johnson and French President Emmanuel Macron have both agreed to step up joint efforts to prevent the crossings and stop the gangs putting people's lives at risk.
EAC News fully supports the Royal Government of Cambodia's preventative and administrative measures against COVID-19. But we need you to play your part in helping bring the 20 February community transmission event to an end. Wash your hands regularly, sanitize wherever possible. Keep an eye on your body temperature. Use the Stop COVID QR code and maintain a safe social distance. But above all, please, 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 wear a mask. Only together can we beat COVID-19. If it's happening and you need to know about it, you'll get it all right here. EAC News brings you updates and breaking news in English across all of our platforms and channels. The EAC News app, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and our website www.eacnews.asia. Join me, Andrew Barnes-Roberts, and the rest of the EAC News team every day on your favorite channels. EAC News, Cambodia made clear.
Cambodia has become the official host of the Asian Youth Games 2029. The kingdom has signed for the hosting rights in Dubai on Sunday. It was announced by the Secretary of State at the Ministry of Tourism and Secretary General of the National Olympic Committee of Cambodia, Vat Chumran. Vat Chumran says that Cambodia is very proud to get the official rights to host the 5th Asian Youth Games in 2029. During the Olympic Council of Asia General Assembly in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates. OCA General Assembly was participated by 45 Asian countries, including Cambodia. Minister of Tourism Town Kun and Phnom Penh Governor Khao Sreng have led the Cambodian sports delegation in Dubai. They left the country last Saturday to plan the road ahead for international sports events. Vat Chumran has thanked the royal government and the people of Cambodia for their support for the sports sector, as well as their contribution to boosting socio-development for the country. Norwegian Ellen Vergelli and Britain's Leah Lewis were crowned champions at the 2021 Red Bull Street Style World Finals footballing event in Valencia on Saturday evening. The global competition aims to find the best overall freestyle football players in the world. In the men's final, Vergelli saw off Dutchman Jesse Marley to claim a record 3rd title, while on the women's side, Lewis, who only took up the sport 3 years ago, stunned pre-tournament favourite Augusto Minch of Poland in the final. The event saw the world's 16 best male and 8 best female freestylers put on a dazzling display of style and skill in front of the fans for the first time in 2 years due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Seven times world champion Lewis Hamilton has won the inaugural Qatar Grand Prix for Mercedes on Sunday, followed by Max Verstappen, with Fernando Alonso finishing 3rd. Qatar Grand Prix Formula One racing event is part of the 2021 championship and will join the calendar again in 2023 on a 10-year contract.
British racing driver Lewis Hamilton has won the inaugural Qatar Grand Prix, cutting Max Verstappen's overall Formula One lead to 8 points with 2 races remaining. Red Bull's Verstappen was 2nd after starting 7th following a 5-place grid drop for failing to respect warning flags in Saturday's qualifying, but took a bonus point for fastest lap.
It was pretty straightforward. It was pretty lonely at the front. Of course, I enjoy those races where you're battling through, but we needed those points today. So I think a real solid job from the team.
Double world champion Fernando Alonso was 3rd for Renault Alpine, the 40-year-old Spaniard's first podium finish since 2014. The win was Hamilton's 7th from 20 races from this season, and the record extending 102nd of his career also continued his record of being first to win at new circuits on the calendar. Verstappen, who was 9 wins this year, carried out another solid piece of damage limitation as Red Bulls cut Mercedes' lead in the constructors' standing from 11 to 5 points.
Of course, our starting position was a bit compromised, but luckily we had a really good start, and from there on I was quite quickly back into 2nd. So at the end of the day, to get that fast lap was very nice, and of course I know it's going to be difficult to the end, but I think that's nice. You know, it keeps it exciting.
The Dutch 24-year-old can still win the championship with a race to spare at the next round in Saudi Arabia if Hamilton fails to score. Mexican Sergio Perez was 4th for Red Bulls with Frenchman Esteban Ocon 5th for Alpine in a race with a sudden spate of punctures late on among those trying to make a single stop work. Lance Stroll took 6th for Aston Martin ahead of the Ferrari pairing of Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. Lando Norris finished 9th for McLaren and Sebastian Vettel 10th for Aston Martin.
Chelsea manager Thomas Tuchel will take a late call on striker Lukaku for Tuesday's Championship League home game against Juventus, but said on Monday the midfielder Jorginho was fit after coming off against Leicester City at the weekend.
Romelu Lukaku has not featured since injuring his ankle in their 4-0 home win against Malmo last month, but was expected to return to action against the Italians on Tuesday. Holders Chelsea, who were beaten in the reverse fixture in September, trail group leaders Juventus by 3 points after 4 games in Group H. The London side need to avoid defeat at Stamford Bridge to confirm their place in the round of 16.
Well, firstly and foremost, we do what we do. When we play football games, we try to win them. This is what we do, and this will not change. Okay, later in the game, if there is if the score sheet is a draw, we will maybe not allow Edumendi to go into opponent's box when we have a late corner, because we will not risk our qualification and go all in if the situation is like this. But until this moment, we will try everything to win the game and have a chance to win the group. And for this, we have to win the game.
The German, however, said he had enough options to make up for the absence of the Belgian international, especially with forward Timo Werner back in the squad after a lengthy spell on the sidelines.
Winter sports have been gaining popularity across China in recent years, with the upcoming Beijing Winter Olympics fueling a passion for ice and snow activities amongst those young and old. For many, partaking in the joys of winter sports has become a majority part of their lives and brought a host of new opportunities. According to a report from China Tourism Academy earlier this year, Chinese tourists made 230 million trips featuring ice and snow in the 2021 winter season, generating more than 60 billion in revenue, highlighting just how big the industry has become. Among those who have unlocked a newfound source of enjoyment is proud dad, Dong Yasun, who has been able to form a special bond with his son through ice hockey. The father picked up the pastime years ago when accompanying his son to ice hockey classes. The father-son duo now spends their weekends together on the ice rink.
Since we have the same hobby, we have more to share.
After I started skiing, my appetite gets better and I always sleep well. I have also made a lot of friends with whom I have a lot to share with. Now my skills get better. When I am praised by the others, I feel so happy.
After Beijing won its bid to host the 2022 Winter Olympics in 2015, winter sports competitions have become more common, and the demand for referees grew significantly in China. Amid the wave of Winter Olympic fever, China has set a goal of engaging 300 million people in winter sports, with hundreds of new facilities being built across the country in recent years, and some 2,000 primary and secondary schools including winter sports in their curriculum by the end of 2020. The Football Federation of Cambodia has officially announced Cambodia's right to host the AFF Under-23 Championship 2022 on Wednesday. The match will be held at Mododok Daeju National Stadium and the Prince Stadium of Visakha Football Club on February of next year.
The president of the Football Federation of Cambodia, General Sao Sokha, announced with great pleasure that Cambodia will be hosting the ASEAN Football Federation Under-23 Championship in 2022. He has thanked the Football Federation of Southeast Asia for trusting Cambodia to host this regional event and promised to organize a successful youth competition. The tournament is scheduled to take place from 14 to 26 February in 2022, with 12 AFF members participating from Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore, Myanmar, Malaysia, Indonesia, the Philippines, Laos, East Timor, Brunei, and Australia. This is the first official international tournament scheduled to take place at the Morodok Techo National Stadium. Cambodia will also host the 32nd and Southeast Asian Games in 2023 at the country's first modern multi-purpose and international standard sports facility.
Real Madrid will not be taking anything for granted when they get the chance to exact revenge on Sheriff Tiraspol in their Champions League clash on Wednesday. Madrid's coach says that they would like the opportunity to be able to take revenge, while the Sheriff head coach stresses that they will have prepared well for this match. Real coach Carlo Ancelotti has said his side was stunned when they lost to Sheriff 2-1 at Santiago Bernabeu in September, and that they were looking forward to another shot at the Moldovians.
At this moment, due to the way he plays, he is the most balanced player in football. I think he's unstoppable in one-on-one situations. There are not many players doing this kind of things. This is what I think. Yes, he has to improve because dribbling one-on-one is important in football, but it's not the most important thing. We've prepared well for this match. I hope that tomorrow's match will be interesting and have a good tempo. I hope he will be able to stand our ground against a very strong team. Let's wait for the game and speak tomorrow. I hope we do everything for a positive result.
Real top Group D on 9 points after 4 matches, 2 points above Inter Milan with Sheriff a point further back. Real Madrid booked a place in the Champions League knockout stages with a match to spare after strolling to a 3-0 win at Moldovan rivals Sheriff Tiraspol in their lopsided Group D clash on Wednesday. Real topped the group on 12 points from 5 games, 2 more than second-place Inter Milan, with the result also sending the Italian champions through as they built Shakhtar Donetsk 2-0. Third-place Sheriff, who stunned Real 2-1 in the reverse fixture in September, are third on 6 points and assured of carrying on in the Europe League after the winter break, while fourth-place Shakhtar have 1 point. France striker Karim Benzema, who was handed a suspended 1-year prison sentence earlier on Thursday, had a goal chalked off in the 10th minute for offside as Real laid siege to the home side.
The match was good, serious. We played a serious game, competing and showcasing our quality. It was good defensively. We didn't take any risks, especially from the outset. It was good, I'm satisfied. We made it through this group with still a match left to go that we need, which we want to win to come out in the first place. We're still with a good dynamic. Alaba served a mild knee sprain, nothing to worry because the player is not in a lot of pain. He seems pretty well and we hope he can play on Sunday.
David Alaba fired the visitors ahead with a deflected free kick in the 30th minute, with a shot from 22 metres leaving Sheriff goalkeeper Giorgio Anthelides stranded after it clipped Cristiano's outstretched foot. Midfielder Toni Kroos doubled Real's lead on the stroke of half-time with a fine shot which cannoned in off the underside of the crossbar, after flowing movement left the German midfielder with time and space to pick his spot. Benzema made it 3-0 with a sublime effort from the edge of the penalty area into the bottom corner after he was teed up by left-back Ferland Mendy in the 55th minute, as Real kept their foot on the pedal. The home side came close to pulling one back shortly after the hour, as Real goalkeeper Thabet Kurtus parried Adam Tarou's low drive and Sebastian Thiel hit the post with a glancing header in the follow-up. Anthelides twice thwarted substitute Marco Ansinio in the dying minutes with a pair of brilliant saves as Real breezed comfortably into the business end of Europe's Premier Club competition for the 25th successive year. Real are at home to Inter in their final group match, while Sheriff visits Shakhtar on the 7th of December. Bayern Munich on Wednesday has confirmed that Joshua Kimmich has tested positive for COVID-19. Kimmich was already in quarantine alongside 4 other teammates after he came into contact with an infected person. The German champions are struggling with rising cases and a reduced squad. On Tuesday, Bayern had only 4 outfield players on the bench during their 2-1 Championship League victory over Dynamo Kiev in Ukraine. Bayern are also dealing with mounting criticism for having unvaccinated players, with German international Kimmich the most high-profile one to refuse a shot over what he says are concerns about long-term effects. According to reports, club bosses informed unvaccinated players last week that they would be docking their pay for the periods of coronavirus quarantine, in line with local laws. For the second time in a row, Visaka Football Club has won the Samdech Daejeon Hun Sen Football Championship, beating Priakar Rish Sveireng. The tournament was held on Tuesday at RSN Stadium.
In the final match between Visaka Football Club and Priakanrit Svarieng for 90 minutes plus 30 minutes last night, both teams kept the score 2-2 equals. Both teams are close to 5 goals, while Priakanrit Svarieng failed to score the 5th penalty, making Visaka football team continue to hold the new championship, while Priakanrit Svarieng received number 2. Visaka football team secured the top, followed the Priakanrit Svarieng and Phnom Penh Crown at number 3 for the Bonket, while fair play for Phnom Penh Crown. The champion Visaka football team has received a trophy with a prize money $25,000, $15,000 for the second and $7,500 for the third spot. The fair play team received $750, as well as the other individual awards, such as the top scorer, best goalkeeper, and coach.
NBA veteran centre Marc Gasol announced on Thursday his return to Spain to play for Girona, a second-division basketball club he founded in 2014. The 36-year-old 3-time All-Star and NBA 2013 Defensive Player of the Year will play until the end of the season, before making a decision on retiring. Gasol, the owner and president of Girona, played last season for the Los Angeles Lakers after a championship-winning stint with the Toronto Raptors, who he joined from the Memphis Grizzlies, where he spent over a decade. In 2019, Gasol helped Spain to FIBA World Cup glory, a title he also won in 2006, while he has 2 Olympic silver medals to his name, from 2008 and 2012. His brother Pau retired from basketball last month following a glittering career in the NBA and with the Spanish national team. Hundreds of fans paid tribute to soccer great Diego Maradona on Thursday, on the 1-year anniversary of his death, as Naples unveiled a statue of the Argentinian World Cup champion in front of the stadium named after him.
Soccer lovers gathered in front of the Stadio Diego Armando Maradona, formerly named the Stadio São Paulo, to remember the Argentina soccer legend, widely regarded as one of the game's greatest ever players and in Naples, seen as a god. Chanting, "There's only one Maradona," the fans lit flares and candles next to the statue of the soccer legend. Maradona, known as Pelusa for his own flowing mane, and D10S or Dios, a play on the word for God in Spanish, in his famous number 10 jersey, died on November 25, 2020, at the age of 60 due to the cardiac arrest. Born in a humble neighborhood on the outskirts of Buenos Aires, Maradona became an icon to many in Argentina and around the world. He moved to Napoli in 1984 for a then world record $7.5 million contract, becoming a cult hero in Naples, where he helped drive an underdog team to domestic and European glory. The player has been immortalized with murals and statues, as well as tattoos, and children, boys and girls, have been named after him. The city is practically a shrine to the soccer star, with Napoli soccer shirts adorned with his name, filling streets vendors, and in the famous Spanish Quarter, murals and posters of him plaster all the walls.
Now let's have a look at the weather and see what you can expect over the next few days. Thanksgiving Day is a celebration for people in the United States to give thanks for what they have. It has been an annual holiday in the United States since 1863. In some cities and towns, there are colourful parades during the Thanksgiving weekend. In most areas, these festivals also mark the opening of the Christmas shopping season.
New York City has celebrated an Inflation Day. It is the city's opportunity to lay out all their balloons in show order and start inflating them with helium. It's Thanksgiving Day, and people need a little happiness and joy right before the holiday. Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade 2021 displays its colorful and fancy balloons on 25th of November.
Today's an optimistic day. The parade will be an optimistic day tomorrow. Seeing all of the faces, seeing all the smiles, seeing people just coming around safely, but coming out, showing up to experience the magic that the Macy's Parade brings to New York City is refreshing and inspiring, and we're thrilled to be here and put a lot of work to get to this point. So excited that everyone's enjoying themselves.
The big balloons were blown up on Wednesday on the eve of the 95th annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Last year's balloon inflation event was canceled due to the coronavirus pandemic, with the Macy's Parade limited to a television-only event the next day. Fan favorite and newcomer Grogu, the Star Wars character popularly known as Baby Yoda, joined astronaut Snoopy and Papa Smurf, and of course, they were joined at the event by children looking on. Workers methodically inflated each big balloon with helium. They did their work under nets, weighed down by sandbags, to keep the balloons from flying away.
Thanks for watching the Weekly Roundup here on the EAC News Channel. More from the EAC News team in the Daily Roundup Monday night at 8 p.m. I'll see you then.